And we are live. So, welcome to episode 225 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. This has been a double feature day. If you were around earlier, you saw me at 1 p.m. talking to Bill Scurry over there in Amsterdam, this Long Islander who has made his way to live in Amsterdam now. And we were just sitting here talking about film and what's going on with the film world these days. And now I am back again a few hours later, knocking out killing two birds with one stone. In the house, I was talking about this with Bill, that this love of film and this channel, by extension, is what the internet is supposed to be, because all the way from Dublin, we've got Marty. Julia, that light, it's not quite bright enough. You haven't completely blinded me yet, all right? So my retinas haven't detached. I've got Marty from the Trash Picture Show over there in Dublin. Welcome aboard, brother.
Hey, man.
Hey, brother. And then blinded by the light over here in the UK, we've got Morgan Scorpion. Over from London. Nice to see you again. It's been a couple of weeks, so hope everything's well. And we've also got just outside of Chicago, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here, and good to see you again as well. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I think it's been about 2 weeks since the last stream, so it's good to have some people back. Now, we are talking about usually the show doesn't cover in live stream form among the more the newer films, because it's usually hard to get people out to the theater I can't get people in agreement to go to the theater. Everybody's got to go see this, and people, it's just tough to do. But for this movie, there seemed to be a general enthusiasm or a specific enthusiasm to catch this. I think everybody here on this show is a fan of David Dastmalchian. Going back from his days in Nolan and The Dark Knight, and seeing him in this sort of odd looking guy here and there. I enjoyed him very much in The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And then when we heard that this year he was going to be getting his first crack at being a leading man, horror fans were pretty amped about it. And he came up with a little movie, or it starred in a little movie called Late Night with the Devil. So if you guys are ready, shall we get it going?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Boogie woogie. So let's just get right into it. Very recent movie. I saw this in the theater. My local cinema house is about 15 miles away. It's about 24, 25 kilometers for, you Euro people. It wasn't playing there. Instead, it was playing another place about another 5 miles or 8 kilometers further in the opposite direction. I would have had to have waited an additional week to see it at my regular cinema house. And I went to this spooky-ass theater it had one light out. So, I go to Regal Cinemas because that's where I have my app. So my movies are, free. I pay $21.99 a month, and I can see whatever I want. And, the R was gone, so it was like Eagle, and it was dark and dingy, and, if Vincent Price had fucking jumped out at me, wouldn't have surprised me at all. But I walked in there, and one of the few times that I've been to the movies, probably in the past 12 months, there was really a decent audience inside that theater. The people wanted to see this. Everybody seemed to be in an upbeat mood. People were talking. I had my bowl of popcorn, and just proceeded to sit down and watch this movie, which was 90 minutes long, so it was very brief. Um, let's just go right into it. Marty, what did you think of? I'm going to go around then to Julia and to Eric. What did you think of Late Night with the Devil?
I was kind of hyped for this one because I'm not the biggest kind of found footage fan, but the temptation came like with the idea of this is Johnny Carson by way of The Exorcist, and I was like, Christ, it's an interesting premise. I the majority of it I liked. I did have some issues, and we'll get into that later. But I don't regret watching it. I think it's worth checking out.
All right. Julia, what do you got for us?
Well, I went into it with fairly low expectations, and I wasn't disappointed. In fact, I was slightly pleased because it was better than I expected. Not a big fan of David Dastalmachian, though he certainly brought the goods to this particular movie. In fact, he was quite moving in some places. The premise of exorcism happening on live television was actually done very similarly by a movie called The Cleansing Hour, which I believe to be a better movie. I certainly enjoyed it more. So although there were a lot of good things about Late Night with the Devil, overall, it's pretty meh.
Okay. Eric, what do you got for us?
This movie was pretty hyped up for me. And I went into it not knowing what to expect because found footage movies can be hit or miss with me. I didn't mind the way it was shot. It did not look like the typical found footage film. This was not Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, like the way the camera was. I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed the look, the feel, the characters. My only qualm was probably the last 5 minutes of the film, and that's not gonna tear away any of my enjoyment. So I was really pleased with it overall.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a great deal. We should comment that at least for Hollywood, this was an extremely inexpensive film with a budget of just under $2 million. I believe it was, and I'll pull up the numbers in a second, a very profitable film. Unfortunately, a lot of films nowadays don't last long. They seem to have, at best, like a 3-week window in the cinema houses before they get replaced and sent to VOD. Mm-hmm. This had the benefit of going straight to Shudder, which for horror fans is preferable rather than pay $5.99. It comes to a channel that a lot of horror fans already have, and so you can watch it that way. Very inexpensively made, minimal special effects. Very few special effects. You don't really get into them until towards the end of the movie. A majority of practical effects. And I thought it succeeded because a lot of the film just kind of thrived on tone and mood. Mm-hmm. If you get just right to the Christo character, who obviously comes off hammy and, deliberately fake. It reminded me of a scene from the X-Files and Clyde Bruckner's Final Repose, where they have this scam guy named the Great Yappy, who's obviously just, a big fake. But then to have things shift all of a sudden. And just, the performance of Lily. And, I've had my opinions on child actors before, the character who plays the possessed girl. I thought she did a fantastic job, really convincing and minimalist. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, big. Even the way that the score or the way they used that theremin with the studio band. I thought it fired on a lot of different thrusters, and I guess we'll get into it, but. Basically, it starts out with this, 5-minute exposition setup about this late night host who's in the 70s, 71, 72, and he is the perennial runner up to Johnny Carson. And Julia may be the only person around who remembers this. You just weren't beating Johnny Carson. It didn't make a difference who you were, back then in the late night shows. I don't know if you had that over in America, Julia, but over here in America,
We don't have it in England. I only know who he is because some American friends talk about him occasionally.
Yeah, the late night shows that happen from 11:30 on are kind of a staple, or they're kind of dying now. But this guy was, just the perennial second place guy. Just can't get out of first. Seems like a nice guy. Runs a decent show, but then there's this undertone that he might be meddling with the occult, these sort of secret societies for the wealthy and the powerful and the affluent, that, there might be, some dark things going on at these gatherings that they have, so on and so forth. And, the show kind of takes off from there. He's lost his wife to cancer. And the way that he's set up, he comes across initially as a sympathetic character. This guy who's, just kind of working hard, and he seems like a nice guy, and, he seems to care about his audience, and, the tragedy of losing his wife, who seems to love him. I think one of the things I also liked about this film, and then I'll turn it over to you guys, is that by the time you get to the end of the film, you find out there really there's maybe one admirable character in there. And it's Gus, who's kind of the conscience of the show. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. Let's get, stop. Half an hour ago, you were saying something completely different. But you find out by the end of the movie that there really are no admirable characters. There's hardly anyone to root for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it's been nice talking to you, everybody. Good night. All right, thank you very much, and you all have a good night. Thank you. Put the cough syrup down, you bunch of fucks, and let's talk. Hold on a second. We got a comment here. It's Patrick. Oh no. It's the IFC Midnights. No, it's not, Patrick. But this is an IFC film, and I was just saying that in my notes that IFC gets it right. IFC tends to get it right. IFC Midnight does not tend to get it right. But when they do, it's done very well. And this is another one of those. I would say IFC gets it wrong 7 out of 10 times. But the 3 times that they do, I find them to be very strong. And you get films like this. You get The Autopsy of Jane Doe. You get, A Dark Song, these sorts of things. Let's just, anybody wants to go, feel free.
I think, as you said, Dalmatian's character is a tongue twister of a bastard. Anyway,
just call him David. It's a lot easier. Just call him David.
David's character is essentially,
his name is Jack Delroy. The character's name, the character's name is Jack Delroy, if it helps. So okay. Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack, the character Jack Delroy, very sympathetic, but that's undermined, I think, by the prologue, where they mention that he has involvement in some kind of occult goings on, and because that sent alarm bells off for me right away. I'm like, okay, he's involved in some shanky shit that will come into play later on, and that wasn't helped then by Micah. Can we go into spoilers for this?
Let's just let's
it wasn't helped later on by like his wife being diagnosed with cancer, and I'm like, okay, there's something going. I think the prologue could have been shortened. I love my Michael Ironside. I think great fucking voiceover, great kind of introduction, but the prologue for me felt it didn't trust the audience. It had to spoon feed shit for the audience. And I think that in itself was kind of put me in a bit of a skeptical form for this movie. But as it went on, it picked up steam for me again. I think, as you said, Gus, he was kind of like the only decent character. Reminded me of like that kind of sidekick that Jimmy Kimmel has, that other little Hispanic dude that's on Jimmy Kimmel. I was like, okay, we got this guy for comedic relief, but as you said, he also acts as the conscious, because, like as you said, everyone in this seems to be like a prick. Carmichael, and even the doctor who's looking after Lily, she's screwing fucking Jack Delroy. So it's just like this one character. So I think the actors were perfect, but the characterization kind of it didn't grip me as well as it could. I think when you're watching a horror movie, you need someone to root for or to get behind, and that was one of the ingredients that I had trouble with this movie.
You see, I liked the exposition in the very beginning. I liked how it was 5 minutes, maybe 10. 10 might be pushing it. But I liked how it was all just thrown. I liked how it was thrown in our lap. We know what we're getting into, and then that's it. I like the look of it because I think it kind of felt like, it looked and had the feel of like the opening of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just like, the way it's read. I didn't know it was Michael Ironside, so that makes me like it even more. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell. And what I liked about it, the fact that we already know right away he's in this cult of owls or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? What I like about that is in hindsight, then you can think about how he has how Jack has these, or at least to me, times of regret. Like that, there's that scene where his wife, he brings her on to try to get ratings up type of thing and sympathy. Just the way David looks at her, the actor David just looks at her. You can tell that he's sad for her because he truly loves her in this. But then you can tell, just get those gears turning in your head, like, oh, I fucked up. I didn't want this to happen, to be so famous, and I think he's regretting whatever he did to whatever demon that he's going to deal with later.
See, I assumed that this didn't click for him until the very end. Now the parts of him that obviously, he's messing with the occult, so that's very dangerous, these sorts of things. But then what got me was when I didn't think he actually realized it until the very end.
Well, I don't know if he knew it 100%, but maybe he's putting 2 and 2 together because she had lung cancer and never smoked a single cigarette. So I think
I'm just saying I didn't put that together. I'm just saying I didn't put that together.
I mean, it's been established now that you can get lung cancer through passive smoking. So,
now, but could you in 1977? Did they know that?
They didn't know that, but
good one.
Right, but
actually, in England, I think Roy Castle was already talking about it a lot. An English dancer and singer got lung cancer through working in smoky nightclubs. And I wonder when he started campaigning against it.
Hold on a second, Milka. I want to show you guys something before we go.
Of course.
This was the fucking theater that I went to see this thing at. It scared the living crap out of me. What the hell? The eagle fucking, I'm like, what the hell is that? And it was just dark, and
I like it. It looks like a fake cinema on the set of a fucking movie studio.
I had never been there, and it had this long, winding fucking road off the highway, and it was like three-quarters of a mile
I gotta ask you, did the blob chase you out of that or into that? Which
it does look like the theater from the Blob.
Holy shit! Yeah, it was fucking awful. I actually took a picture and put it up on my fucking Twitter account. I'm like, this is the fucking theater I went to see. It kind of was. I mean, it wasn't nice and fancy, like, my usual multiplex. It had those old, raggy seats kind of thing. But, this was the best mood I've ever seen a whole theater in since, in the past year or so, So it was just a good experience, but a creepy fucking theater. Like I said, if Vincent Price had jumped out at me, I wouldn't have been fucking surprised. But I didn't put it together with that. It's just that what made me realize that Jack is a douche is that as these awful things are happening, he won't put a stop to it. That's what sort of made him the douche for me. Like after Christou died, like you could have called the show right there, and he doesn't. And then after the Jack, the Doctor and Lily, Dr. June and Lily. There are several times, and he's employed by Gus on several different occasions. Like, put a stop to this.
Hey, it's
Put a
sweeps
stop
weeks,
to
baby.
this.
Can't do that.
Yep, and he's just like, nope, the ratings,
Right?
the ratings. So there's this naivete with him,
hmm
in that he's just chasing fame.
He wants that glory, you know.
I wouldn't
it's
put it
really
on out
weird.
there
Like,
either,
if
though,
I,
Mike. That
Go
fucking
ahead.
Phil Spector looking producer was fucking egging him
Oh,
on.
Yeah.
yeah, he's kind of just pushing him. He won't let him slow down long enough to think, and he's got like 2 minutes in between sets, and he doesn't get a chance. I like that. Well, let's start off with this. He starts off with the guests. You get to meet Gus and the douchey producer, but then we start to get to the regular guests, and I guess that brings us to Christu, who is this psychic, channeling spirits, this sort of thing here and there. What were your impressions of Christu?
Basie, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I loved him. He was one of the best things about it. I got the feeling that he was 90% fake, but 10% real, as I believe a lot of mediums are. But I was a bit mystified as to why he has a Greek name, but he says "si" several times, as if he was Italian, almost as if the writers either couldn't be bothered to decide on his ethnicity, or if they were trying to signpost, this guy's fake. But
I think it was
maybe he's
because
Greek brought up in Italy.
in the subtitles it says he's speaking with a Middle Eastern accent. So I think they just moshed everything together to put this guy as a scammer.
Yeah.
It's a harmless kind of scam. He's not doing it to jab anybody in the eye. Yeah, it's cheap television. It's late night television.
Complaining that a 1970s late night chat show is fake is a bit like, I don't know, complaining that a fake thing is fake. It's supposed to be. I'd like to go back just a little tiny bit.
Sure.
As upon watching this, I was that Jack wasn't the slightest bit funny, and I was painfully reminded of how bad most 1970s television actually was. Not a golden age at all.
He's really no different than any of the talk show hosts nowadays, too. So
they never were very funny.
I don't watch them. Know that I don't have to. I grew up one television, no central heating, so of course you sat in front of the TV and watched whatever crap your parents pushed at you. So now that I have a choice, I don't go near it.
What did we have? We had Carson and we had Letterman, and Letterman was okay. Carson was a little bit before my time. Jay Leno, these types. And now I've just sort of lost. I heard Conan O'Brien was very funny, but I've never been into the late night shows. A little bit with Letterman when he switched over. Because he had, especially when he was NBC, he had a lot of subversive people on there. He would have like Harvey Picar on the Harvey Picar Wars that were on there, who was the comic for American Splendor. But yeah, I mean, he's a good character. He's just hamming it up completely. He's just so over the top and hammy.
He's bombing too. He's bombing
until he gets real. And when he gets real, it really.
Well, wait. Let's back up. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I love the naivete of the audience.
Oh yeah.
They want to believe him so bad. There's the first thing. Peterman. Yeah, that's it. Peterman.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, you're just like, oh God. And then Edmund, and yeah, that's it. And he just runs over there and tells all these people that it's going to be okay. And like you see tears coming down their eyes. They're such rubes. But he's not doing it in a way that's like poking anybody in the eye the way that guy Haig does later on. But Julia's absolutely right. When the shit starts to hit the fan with him. It freaks you out it freaked me out a little bit the first time I saw it. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. And what I really liked about this actor is he made me think of like the old carnival days from like the 30s and shit like that. You know what I mean? But what I really liked is when like you said, when the shit hits the fan, he's scared too. That's what I
Yeah.
liked. He went from trying to pull the wool over these people's eyes in the crowd and try to get famous. He was scared. Like even when he's just sitting down sipping the water, you see his legs twitching and his hands. He's uncomfortable and he doesn't know what's going on, and that really sells it because he's not saying anything. He doesn't want to be in that chair. You know what I mean?
Right.
He wants to go home and get the fuck out of Dodge, and that's what I like about this guy.
As-
There is, yeah. Underneath all the fakery, there's some genuine psychic ability, I think.
Mhm.
Well, that's
Yeah.
how I read it.
Yeah, as like I know earlier on I said that none of the characters were likable. Chris he's this harmless kind of fucking
Right.
crank.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's cold reading, and I think Carmichael later finds out that he cold read two of the members of the audience as they were coming in, but there's no maliciousness in it, and there is maybe an element that actually believes he has that power. Like Morgan pointed out, like it's 90% BS but 10% genuine, and you kind of also the whole him being Greek but speaking in a kind of Middle Eastern dialect.
Yeah.
That kind of
I loved it.
That's obviously the more exotic kind of thing. That was indicative for that. Yes, your Yuri Gellers. Oh, he's from the other side of the world, so he might have psychic kind of powers.
I never expected it to turn out that he was actually from South London.
Yeah, that would have even made it better.
He had a
It's
Cockney
Sacha
accent or
Baron
something like
Cohen
that. Yeah.
fucking accent coming out, like
with
But,
that cheesy gold jacket. Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when the shit starts to hit the fan and you don't expect pain.
Mm-hmm. He looked like he's hurting.
Yeah, he's in pain. Like somebody, please accept. He starts talking about Minnie. Minnie. Is there a Minnie? And like we don't understand what that means. Initially we don't understand like who is Minnie. What the fuck is that? And then it ends without any connection. It goes to the commercial break, and it's kind of freaky. But I love how I wouldn't say there are 3 acts, but in this film, because I think there are more than that. But that there are 3 levels through the 3 different guests. Because after that we bring on the Haig character, and Christou is still there, and if there was a truly I think I preferred Abraxas to this guy Haig. He's such an asshole.
Yeah.
And just a douche, and he's just mean-spirited, and he's hurtful, and he just wants to. I don't know what he wants exactly.
He just wants to prove everybody is faking it, and he comes. There's something about him. I know he comes off unlikable. You know what I mean? He needs a good punch in the face. But I liked the portrayal. I liked the character because he's there to prove you wrong, to prove you're lying, and he's pretty successful. And the thing is, it's his overconfidence and his ego that makes him unlikable. It doesn't matter how right he is. He's just so unlikable because of how well, I told you so. There you have it. Type of attitude.
Yeah, he's condescending. He's insultive. He just looks like a jerk with that stupid outfit on. And I was actually glad when Christou just fucking projectile vomited all over him. I was like, yeah, no problem. Not a problem. You're a douche, and you just deserve that.
Yeah.
But I also liked. I mean, they make an Amityville reference. They make an Ed and Lorraine Warren reference in there. So, Marty, you were saying something about this guy that you felt that he was actually portraying or based on a different character in real life. You want to talk about that?
There's a real life kind of paranormal and kind of parapsychic skeptic called the Amazing Randy. And this is where my issue with this came, and it's not anything to do with the movie, but if you watched TV back in the 1970s, he was a former magician who kind of, he ousted Uri Geller, he ousted Peter Popoff, and essentially he was derided by the psychic community and by the audiences of the psychic community. He wasn't as combative. He wasn't anywhere near as combative as Carmichael, the character Carmichael. But I just think it was a bit unfair to use that dude as the template, because the Amazing Randy was trying to prevent things like psychics claiming, oh, we can find your lost child, or we can, like, so many kids were the kind of resources were deferred because, oh yeah, this child is dead, or this child is in the lake or something. And this individual, the Amazing Randy, went on to kind of out these people, and as a result he garnered a reputation which was false. He was actually a very kind of, he wasn't someone who's combative, he wasn't someone who's insulting, he was someone, I think he went on to Carson the week before Uri Geller was supposed to come on, and he told him to switch out all the spoons for these, and that's when they caught out Uri Geller for the first time. And he was a genuinely decent dude who wasn't trying to fucking just be a dickhead for the sake of being a dickhead. He was trying to show, hey, you're being taken for a fucking ride by these people, and I don't want that to happen. They got certain elements of the character right.
So wait, where did you hear all this? That this character was based on?
There's a YouTube channel called Super Eye Patch Wolf who went over the phenomenon of kind of fake psychics and stuff, and he came up, and essentially it's the same character.
Yeah, because Carmichael was a former magician too, I think they
said.
Yeah,
exactly. And
like your Copperfield, David Blaine kind of illusionist. Yeah.
Again, I like the fact, because Randy used to have a show back in the day as well, where he'd like invite people on. Oh, I'll give you a $10,000 check if you can prove that your psychic ability is real and stuff like that.
He did that too. Okay.
Yeah. So again, if you can go back and watch these videos, he was actually a really nice, really polite dude who just wanted to kind of make sure people weren't being fucked over by these psychics. And I think this character is a fun, brilliant character, but it does a disservice to who they're based on, because some people might go and think, oh, Brandy must have been a fucking asshole as well. He wasn't. And that's what kind of pinched me a bit about that. But again, that's nothing to do with the movie. That's just my issue with the character.
Okay.
I mean, even if we start to watch like the Conjuring films, and by the time we get to the second film, you've already got, the Warrens on that stage at the beginning of the movie, fighting skeptics.
Yep.
About the DeFeo murders and the Amityville case and these sorts of things. So, I mean, these sort of skeptics have been around for, I guess, as long as I can remember, on these morning shows like the Donahue Show, or I guess Julia didn't want to talk about that, but I usually kick her off beforehand, so. But, in truth, and thinking about it, it's actually an impressive performance, because he does his job and makes you really want to punch him in the nose.
He's like that one actor that Rod told you is doing his job, because I don't remember, you always hate him. Yeah, you, Mike, you always hate him every time you see him, and Rod told you, well, he's doing his job. Like I said, this is scumbag's a strong word, but he is an asshole, but he's also doing his job, trying to prove how all this stuff is fake. He's just coming off like a cocky prick with it.
Well, I mean, it kind of comes full circle with him, because when he finally meets the real thing, he wants to be a disciple.
I love where he offers it the check. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah. And it just burns right in his hand. It's like, you're such an asshole. So, I mean, that brings us to the third guest, which is Dr. June and Lily. And I mean, what did you think of those two? I was impressed with the girl who played Lily.
I liked them both.
Very impressed.
I liked them both. I really liked the doctor character, but Lily, again, I'm kind of like you, Mike. You know, we can either have really good child actors, or we can, no offense to him, because he was being directed by George Lucas. We could have like Jake Lloyd or something like that, who comes off very wooden at times. And what I liked about this character Lily is it wasn't spinning heads until like the very end. Her voice changed. Yeah, she had a mean look on her face. Yeah, she had some boils or cuts when she was speaking, like when the demon was speaking through her. But when she was back to being Lily, they were gone. So I liked that little twist too. And one thing we didn't say about this, because I might as well bring it up now because we're talking about Lily. I like how we don't get any possession or ghost stuff until maybe like the final act. You know, a lot of it is just these characters on this talk show, and it's the build up until they're brought out.
I thought that when she was just Lily, she was actually creepier than when she was the demon.
There's Lily, who could be a sweet little girl, but when she's being this sweet little girl, she's uncomfortable.
Well, it's like the way she's always looking at the wrong camera.
Yeah.
You know, and the way she's like the way the script is written, it's actually a very good script. Mm-hmm. The way the script is written, and I forget a couple of the lines that she says. Oh, you're going to be famous very soon. Or mm-hmm. Sorry about your wife. There's this undertone of like menace in there.
When she said sorry about your wife, it was kind of like a dig at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. And I still think at this point he hadn't realized his own complicity in his wife's death. He didn't, realize it. It's just the naivete of a stupid guy who's, fooling around with the occult. Marty, what was your thought of this? This girl and Dr. June.
I thought her performance was good. I did feel that was she 13 or 14? Were they trying to pass her off as a child? Because the way I saw it was she was a teen, but because of her experiences in the cult, she maybe had some kind of stunted developmental kind of state. And that was what I was like, okay, is she trying to pretend? Is it an older teen trying to pretend to be a younger child? Or is it that she's emotionally stunted? For plot kind of reasons, I took it that she was kind of more emotionally stunted. If I was going to be more skeptical, maybe the role was written for a younger child. But it kind of works with the backstory, I think, because I found there was kind of there was a bit of the cliched, creepy kind of girl, creepy kind of child, but maybe this teen is a bit too old for that. I think the relationship between her and her doctor was good. It was obvious. You felt there was a bit of history, and you felt that Lily trusted the doctor enough to go on national television and to be strapped to a chair. I think that worked. I didn't find any kind of issue or believability with that.
See, here's the thing that I had. I thought that Lily was playing all of them the entire time. I got the impression from the minute Lily hit the camera, there was no Lily, or there was no just Lily.
Yeah, like Mr. Wriggles or whatever Mr. Wriggles was in there the whole time.
Yeah, Mr. Wriggles. That was Mr. Wriggles from like start to finish. I had no impression that at any time, the minute she came on, she was off. Like that. That's not a kid. Like
I can't find the character's age online at all. But.
Like she emotionally manipulated Jack into cutting the restraints, so the fucking restraints were no good anymore. As well, that was one thing I thought was cleverer as well. That like,
go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
No. I just think that again, you know what, your reasoning works a lot better, because I was like, okay, she's playing a bit childish, but now that you've said it, it makes a lot more sense. She was fucking that whole kind of, oh, look at me, I'm a little kid kind of fucking persona. That was just what that was. It was a persona. It was it was a camouflage. And just when she comes back and she's pleading and she gets Jack to fucking cut the restraints and stuff. Yeah.
All fucking hustle. That was my interpretation of it from the get go. Yeah, there is no Lily. There's no Lily there.
And because you mentioned she's always looking at the wrong camera, but she's always finding a way to stare at the audience.
And she's
Yeah.
staring.
Yeah.
You know, so you could either take that this is an extremely traumatized kid, or that there's just something beneath the skin there.
Yeah.
That is just kind of waiting for its opportunity to make its play.
Mr. Wriggles or the devil or whatever the hell you want to call it, it knows it's on TV. It knows it has a vast audience every time it's looking at the camera, and it wants you to look right back at them. That's how I took it.
I love that they call the demon Abraxas. I'm like, that's a fucking Santana album. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I love Santana. Why are you fucking with Santana? Leave Carlos Santana out of this. That's like his most favorite album with like Oye Como Va and like a Black Magic Woman and all this shit. Like, leave Santana out of this, man. I have to say this. I want to jump back. One of the scenes that really sort of amped up the tension for me was when he's talking to Haig, and you hear the ambulance siren go off.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. And I remember being in the theater and like the hair on my arm, literally the hair on my arm stood up. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, this is, it's starting to ramp up here. I love just the gradual ramping of the tension throughout the whole thing. I just thought it was really fucking good.
And the great addition, we already said, I can't think of the character's name. He's the announcer, the Ed McMahon to Johnny Carson. Gus. I liked, like you said, he's the only good person. He's the only smart person. He knows something fucked up is going on, and it's just sprinkled out through here and there. When they're backstage, oh, you heard the psychic character, he's dead. You know what I mean? It's just a drop line, but the way he delivers it, I love how this dude, before the hypnotism scene, even before that, how good this actor was showing fear and worry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very subtle, but he was so good at doing it. Like when the final time before the hypnotism scene with the worms, when he has to take the microphone again, he doesn't want to fucking be out there.
No.
And you buy it the way the actor's looking over his shoulder, like he's looking back at David's character, and he's like, do I really have to do this? I want to go home.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. There are no heroes here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this crosses the line into religious horror. I guess it does a little bit by definition, being a possession film or, some sort of thing like that. But there are, again, this is another modern film, that perhaps, and I was talking about this with The First Omen and Immaculate, where there kind of are no heroes. There are no good guys anymore, except for Gus, who just gets, lambasted at the end. He just, he has no chance whatsoever. Julia, what did you think of? Because you got a little disconnected there for a second, a little technical issue.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so.
No, it's all good.
What about this young lady playing Lily? Because the moment she came on, I was captivated. She's one of the best things about this show. She was demonic and scary. I didn't buy the sweet little girl act for 1 second.
Same here. Yeah.
I think she was thoroughly indoctrinated into the cult and was always on their side, just pretending not to be, so that this nice lady would carry on taking care of her.
Well, look at the smile on her face on this little still you have on the screen, and just her body language. There's something wicked in that face. You know what I mean? And I loved her performance. She was so good.
We should mention
I'm just trying to remember her name.
Lily. The character's name is Lily.
But who was the actress who played her?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to switch out of IMDb to look it up. But she did a hell of a job. I also should mention, they bring up, that she was like a victim in this sort of Koresh-like cult. This sort of satanic cult, and like Koresh, their compound ends up getting burnt to the ground. Maybe they all self-immolated. Maybe they just blew the whole house up, so on and so forth. Ingrid Torelli, Eric is putting in there. Ingrid Torelli is playing Lily. and it might be the best performance of the whole, because I mean, even her demonic presentation isn't over the top. It's very,
Right.
it's almost like John says, where you watch somebody do nothing and make it look interesting, like right there. And Eric was just talking about it. That still is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She looks evil, but she's not doing anything.
No, she's just sitting there.
Yeah, she's just sitting there smiling at you, but somehow she's pulling it off. And in the 4 years, get out of here, you stupid cat. In the 4 years that I've been doing this, my opinion so much about child actors has evolved, and now we're looking at things like this, and yeah, it's a fantastic performance.
It looks like I'm on IMDb right now. It looks like she's done some shorts. She's done a couple TV episodes, but this looks like it was her first movie role. So
She was
I
good.
think she's damn good for a movie
Well,
debut.
hopefully we'll get to see more of her.
Yeah, she's certainly got a flair for horror. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know about anything else, but she certainly got a flair for that. Now, what was your impression of the? Eric would remember this, and I don't know, maybe the rest of you too. It reminded me of that scene in the first season of the Exorcist series, where they show that Chris McNeil took Reagan on a book tour.
Yeah.
She wrote about it, and you can see like Reagan doesn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what the fuck? How did I end up here? Like, haven't I suffered enough? Now you're going to make me go on like the Donahue show.
Yeah.
And this, there was this sort of unintended exploitation of the situation. They didn't have any money, and so she needed this. But I just thought, maybe bringing a possessed kid on a television show isn't the greatest idea. It reminded me of that.
Well, was the doctor kind of coaxed into it by Jack because they were sleeping together, type of thing? Maybe she didn't want to initially, and then he just kind of convinced her.
Yeah, that's
He was mourning for his wife.
Say again?
He was mourning for his wife, but I don't know how long she had been passed away. You know what I mean? And we don't know how long this fling has been going on either.
Yeah, it's been about a year. It's been about a year.
He had been off the air for a year and then came back, and I think this was like the first Halloween after he came back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Yeah, you had got the distinct impression that he was hooking up with the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that, he's kind of manipulating. So you're finding out all these things a little bit at a time, that Jack Delroy isn't the nice guy that you think he is. He's not evil.
No, he's not a bad person.
He's not overtly evil person. He's not, Mangala or something like that, but yeah, he's kind of douchey.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it seems the only thing he really cares about is his show.
His fame.
And the ratings. Yeah, and like history doesn't remember contenders. And I was just thinking, man, if I had 5 years hosting a talk show, like, I'd be so good. Like, if it was like, well, I couldn't beat Johnny Carson, okay.
Yeah.
No problem. But, maybe I would be a lousy talk show host because of that. Maybe you need that quality that, I can't live with second place kind of thing. I don't know. I have to be relevant all the time. It seems to be such a common thread in artists, especially actors and people in front of the camera. I remember David Duchovny. I watched this 20-minute video he did with like a retrospective of his entire career, and he said at the end, he goes, we all have that thing that no matter, you could have the number one thing in the world, the minute it ends, the insecurity hits, oh my God, is that the last thing? And he goes, I have it. And he was like 60 at this point, so
wow.
It just, he's like in his 60s now. So he was about 60, 61 when he made that video, and he's like, I have it. The minute the next thing ends, it could be the biggest hit. I'm immediately like paralyzed with fear. Is this going to happen? And it's just, let's get to Lily's transfer. I mean, what did you think of the scene here when she brings Mr. Wriggles forward? Mr. Wriggles gets his moment, a brief demonstration, I called it.
I really liked it because, like I said, it wasn't over the top. It wasn't, pea soup and I mean, we did have a vomit scene, but it wasn't, it wasn't The Exorcist. You know what I mean? Or it wasn't done in a comedic fashion like that one scene in Drag Me to Hell. You know what I mean? Where the demon's doing a fucking dance, as it's floating through the air and stuff like that. It was low key, but it got its point across. And again, this actress, she sold me. I believed it because she looked scary the way her facial expressions were when she was looking at both of these characters. I really liked it because it wasn't so over the top.
That's the cool thing. You hit the nail on the head, Eric. The subtlety of it, and even her face. They used prosthesis, but they used her hair. They done a kind of Sadaku thing where they used the hair to hide a lot of the fucking prosthesis.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh my god, it's like this scary demonic face. You got glimpses. You got glimpses of it. It wasn't in your face. It was done subtly, and that also had a knock-on effect where Carmichael Haig is right. Maybe there's a point. Maybe this is all an illusion or something like that. I think it plays into that as well. But Eric hit the nail on the head. The subtlety of that scene makes it a fantastic scene.
Hold on a second. We got a good comment here. We got Ty Lee. What's happening? Thanks for stopping by. And I love that Jack and Jill went up the hill to fuck each other's brains out because it's true to 70s horror with kids saying inappropriate stuff. Yeah. Really, really good. Really, really good. And minimalist. So, again, less is more. It's been a common theme on this show that we talk about a lot. It goes on to say the whole theater was dead silent during that bit. There was actually like electricity in the air. It was great. Yeah. Again, all of this is done through, and it's done through acting. It's done through acting, and it's just a girl sitting in a chair. It's a girl smiling at you. It's David, Jack sitting there, with a kind of alarmed look on his face. It's the doctor. And I noticed this because I just watched this before we went on again. This is the third time I've seen it. But like, she has red, puffy eyes the entire time. It looks like she's crying. Like she's stressed and, she's living with a possessed kid. So she's, everybody looks stressed and, this asshole, Haig, and you've got, it's just, they're really good performances in this movie. Really, really solid performances. Fantastic. Lily, Julia, do you want to talk about Mr. Wriggles coming forward?
Well, it wasn't bad. I'm not going to say it was a masterpiece because I didn't think it was. Kudos to the girl playing it. Mr. Wriggles, it's a bit of a silly name, but I suppose wriggling in your head has got a kind of a scary tone to it.
Captain Howdy isn't anything fantastic either from The
Mr.
Exorcist.
Pipes from Ghost Watch as well.
Yeah.
And should we never forget the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? the most ferocious, the most ferocious example of evil ever in cinema. The Stay Puft Marshmallow. I thought of the nicest thing I could think of.
Too, but
but again, it's just it's this minimalist kind of thing. What am I like? The demon's almost confused for a second. Like, what am I doing here?
Yep.
Like, who are these people? It's not an overreaction. And so maybe you get a moment of levitation here and there, but look at those effects. It's not much.
No,
it's not much. You get a little voice. You get a little Pro Tools voice modulation here and there, and just let these people do their jobs. Fantastic. Hold on a second. Ty says, "Yeah, you guys said it best. It's the subtle things in this movie."
Yeah.
Now that brings Haig back. What did you think of the worm scene with Gus?
Ooh,
he's such a douche.
He's such a douche, and I already love Gus to death. So I felt so sorry for him, and I was kind of just grossed out. I don't know. I don't have a thing with worms or anything like that, but I was just kind of grossed out with it. But and that's when I knew, okay, the shit's really gonna start hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Worms?
poor Gus, he certainly deserves better than that. I think he's what they call on TV tropes and idioms a wooby. That is a character to whom all the unpleasant things happen. Um, I wasn't, again, not madly impressed. The actor's name, by the way, I've got it written down somewhere. No, I've got it.
Gus or
Reese
Haig?
O'Terry. Reese O'Terry
Oh, that's
plays
Gus. Yeah,
Gus.
yeah, that's Gus. Yeah.
Name of the actor. I really liked him. I wanted
Mhm.
him to turn the tables and come out on top. Um, I actually can't remember what happened to him in the end. I like to think he escaped
Ma-
in
No, he
peace.
did not.
No.
Morgan,
Oh,
the great thing
balls.
is actually in the Carmichael Haig scene, it foreshadows what's whatever you do, don't make me lose my head or my wife will be pissed. It's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
he
The
doesn't fare
foreshadowing.
so well.
Yeah.
He doesn't fare. He actually attempts a bit of exorcism when the shit really hits the fan, and he lasts
Yeah,
about 3
yeah.
seconds. He lasts about 3 seconds. So
Hey,
yeah,
I liked him.
um,
But the words he said, "You're meddling with things that you don't understand." I can't believe he actually said that line. But it's so 1950s. But yeah, I would be interested in seeing this guy in something else. And the same goes for the lady who played Lily and the chap who played Christu. These are actors I'd like to see again.
Mhm.
hold on a second. Ty says, after hearing you say Lily was possessed the whole time, the worm scene makes more sense. A trick of the devil.
But it wasn't. It was a hypno. It was
It was a
Carmichael
trick of Haig.
hypnotizing the audience.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
It
like
had
some
nothing
sort of
to do with Lily, though.
Yeah, she was just. I just think that she was amused by the whole thing.
Mhm.
So I mean, the shit of it. Okay, the shit hits the fan,
Mhm.
and Lily makes her final. Sort of assumes her final form, or Mr. Wriggles assumes. Its final form. I thought that it was actually pretty fucking cool. When you saw what Mr. Wriggles, kind of looked like in front of the camera, I thought it was in keeping with what we were watching the entire time. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. The head sort of splits open, and so the eyes are sort of both on each side. Now, there's another scene after that where it gets a little confusing, but where she finally just turns on everybody,
Mhm.
I was okay with it. I was okay with it.
Oh, I loved that. I loved that whole scene. It's the confusing part that we will get to. That's what I meant by when I said I didn't like
Yeah.
the ending so much. But when Mr. Wriggles he goes full force and he's snapping necks and cutting throats and shit like that, I was having a blast because we finally get to see him do something. And we have this build up, and for a pretty low budget, I think the effects were pretty damn good for what they were working with.
Whoever did the effects on this, deserves some serious credit because they did a hell of a job. I mean, there are lots of movies out there that are just infested with these big budget kind of effects, and you kind of look at them. You're like, that doesn't. There's something about practical effects that makes it more tangible and makes it seem more real. As
Yes.
opposed to when you look at these sort of big green screen things and you're just like, there's something in your brain that just sort of recognizes that this is actually happening versus.
You said it in the Joe Rogan. You said it many times. Joe Rogan's talking to Rob Zombie. Rob's watching Phantom Menace. Why is Liam Neeson so awful? Because he's acting with a tennis ball instead of an actor in front of him. So the physical stuff being there helps you react better.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to come to loggerheads with you lads, and also apologies, Ty, in the chat. Ty says none of the deaths were over the top. They were too over the top. For me, it totally was counterproductive to the fucking subtlety that built up. I was like, okay, wait, we're doing this now? So quick. I mean, it was like, okay, tension. And then these slew of kills that were almost done comedically comedically. Like again, I love how Carmichael Haig offers the demon the check.
Yeah.
That gave me a chuckle. But I genuinely felt this was such a fucking tonal shift. I got whiplash. I'm not gonna lie. For me, I the tonal shift from that scene gave me whiplash. The effects weren't terrible, but they were a bit Bloomhousey for me. That's what I thought. I'm not trying to be a pretentious prick. I
No.
just found that
Yeah.
it was a very, very kind of like, well, we've built up this level of tension, and we're just shooting our fucking load off now. Come on, seriously, guys. It for me, it contradicted everything that had come before.
See, I appreciated the release.
Mhm.
You know, it was just building up, and then boom, it just fucking hits you, and you're like, oh shit, you know, like it just ramped into sixth gear. You know, it had been sort of going in like third gear the whole time, and then all of a sudden, you know, this big fucking upshift. I liked it personally.
Yeah, that's what I liked is we did have this build up, and we got to know these characters for 80 of 90 minutes, and when they're taken out, it's boom, it's quick. We get a neck snap. We get someone gets their throat slit. Carmichael, I don't remember. I think he's set on fire
He
or
gets
something.
burned,
Yeah, he's burnt up.
But it's super quick, and it's just showing that this demon could have done it anytime they wanted to, and just take you out like the flip of a switch, or you know, turn it off of a light or something like that. And that's what I really appreciated, because to me, it showed how powerful this demon was, because it just took him out without any effort.
Now, what ends up happening is that Jack ends up almost getting away. But it seems that he gets lured back into it. And this is where, like, for me, it didn't lose me, but I was like, what are we doing? I was a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly what happens. And it isn't in keep now. As much as Marty thought that the kills were in keeping with the tone, I thought that this wasn't in keeping with the tone. Because before that, everything had been pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Agreed.
Whether you didn't... Yeah, everything had been pretty straightforward. You know, slowly building, you know, doubling back after... Like, you see Christou, he leaves... And then, you know, maybe 5 minutes later, you hear the alarm, you know, the ambulance go off, so on and so forth. But then, you know, this happens, and, you know, you don't know if it's a dream sequence or, you know, it's like the devil comes to collect his due. But for me, if he had been wiped out in a similar way to the other guests, that would have been preferable. Instead, it seems to take the time to explain to him how he was complicit in the death of his own wife, which I didn't think was necessary.
That doesn't make any sense. If he'd stabbed her to death, then it would have been all over the papers. There's no way he'd be allowed to carry on living a normal life and.
Well, he's not.
But we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, here's how I took it. I think that whole, I'm going to call it a fucking dream sequence, even though we know he's awake the whole time.
You guys carry on for a second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
I think he was tricked into killing Lily.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he was given a vision of, you know, his wife dying, and he was in his mind, he was putting her out of her misery. You know what I mean? But when we see reality, he stabbed Lily. Well, when you think about it, he sold his soul or did whatever the fuck he did, you know, for this to happen. He basically he wanted to be remembered. He wanted to have the most popular talk show on television at that time, everyone talking about him. He got what he wanted. 3 people are dead, not by his hand, supposedly, and then he's left holding the blade, killing this young girl. So he's going to be talked about for the rest of his life. On live television. So he's going to be talked about for the rest of his days, and then more so.
Yes.
Eric, it's the monkey paw situation.
Yes.
It's you get your wish, but it's
at what cost?
Fucking sinister means. Yeah.
Exactly. So he thinks he's helping his wife in his, you know, putting her out of mirror, but he's stabbing Lily. So again, Mr. Wiggles wins, because now we have another innocent person dying. Lily was, you know, innocent, being possessed by Mr. Wiggles, but he killed her. And then now he's going to be, like I said, now got his fame. He's got, whether it's infamy.
She tells him, you're going to be famous very soon.
Yeah, it's
I would
infamy,
like
but
to
he's
mention a
famous
thing.
now.
I'm not sure if everybody noticed. You may recall when they were giving Lily's backstory, we saw some pictures of the cult leader that
Hmm.
Lily was a part of. While he appears in the dream sequence, standing right behind David Dastalmachian in one of the owl's
Hmm.
rituals.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think we might assume his involvement all along.
There he is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think a lot of that sequence was unnecessary because he was back on like doing a skit with somebody and then walked off the stage and then there was something else he did. But I didn't mind the sequence with him and his wife. So I'm not going to say that sequence was unnecessary, but it was very confusing, like the first couple parts of it. If that makes sense.
I don't know about you, Mike. Did you get a kind of altered states vibe off that fucking
A
ending?
little bit.
A
A
little
little bit.
bit, yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. Now for me that was the tonal shift.
Hmm.
That I could have lived without, and then we snap to, and we come to the end of the movie, and he stabbed Lily. The other people, and I was checking this time because the first time I saw it, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then it just seemed to end. Like I couldn't see everything. And then
Hmm.
the second time I watched it, maybe I wasn't paying attention, at the last because I knew the way it ended wasn't exactly satisfying to me, so maybe I kind of tuned out, during the whole sequence. This time, for the purposes of discussing it now, I watched the whole thing through. And everybody's dead exactly the way that Mr. Wriggles kills them.
Hmm.
It's just him stabbing Lily.
Hmm.
So I assume that he's going to go to prison,
Right.
or something like that. That's the fame that he's going to get. It's
Exactly.
like Marty says, it's the monkey's paw.
Hmm.
The monkey's paw. It's your deal with the devil. It's not going to be the way that you think it's going to turn out. And it's all a trick.
Yeah, and the first victim was his wife of it all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he didn't even know.
Mhm.
it's the classic Faustian bargain.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. You get knowledge and power, but you're going to go insane. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're not gonna. Yeah. One of my favorite movies about that is. Do you ever see Bedazzled with
Yeah.
Brendan?
Yeah,
Fraser
that's a
and
fun
Elizabeth
movie.
Hurley?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that movie's great. When he wants to be someone important, so she turns him into Abraham Lincoln at the Ford Theater.
Yeah.
I wonder why he won't watch the play. He keeps turning around, waiting for somebody to shoot him.
Mhm.
Holy shit, that movie was hysterical.
Or he wants to be like the richest man in the world or something like that, and he's living in Colombia with maids and the biggest house in the world, but he finds out he's a Colombian drug dealer that people
Right, they
are
wanna
after him
kill
type
him.
of stuff.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
just such a great movie. That's such a great movie.
It's fun.
So, I mean, is there any point that was not addressed that someone would like to bring up? Because if so, let's get into it. If not, let's get to the part where we rate the film.
Nothing real major, but I loved the look and the feel of this. This did feel like it was right out of the 70s, one of those cheesy shows. And what I loved, every time they cut to the commercial, they had those dumb fucking title cards, with the owl and the puns and stuff like that. So it made it more fun, but also stupid as hell because I'm too young. I was born in 81, so I wasn't around obviously when like this type of stuff happened. But on Tubi, I'm watching Johnny Carson stuff or like the roasts and stuff like that, the Dean Martin roast. So it had that vibe. So that's what I thought was cool because it did feel authentic with its look and I don't want to say attitude, but maybe presentation, like when they're cutting to the commercials and stuff like that. It added to the fun and a little bit of levity when we have this tension ramping up.
I loved how instead of this big dramatic score or something like that, they actually saved money by just putting the studio band right there in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were great. They were great, just making like Halloween music and
More
that theremin.
expensive than doing it. That's more expensive that way.
Not necessarily. I mean, they did it, and it sounded
You've
better.
got to pay a whole bunch of live musicians when you could have one guy with a tape recorder Come on.
Well, you might have
No,
to pay for the rights of music, or you can get a bunch of struggling artists to be like, "Hey, here's
Yeah.
$50 to be in a horror movie."
You guys come on and make,
Uh,
Actually, Eric kind of touches on another issue I have, and again, I'm not trying to fucking rag on the movie.
No.
It was made, as Mike said, for just under 2 million. What kind of put me off this movie as well was the use of AI art. I have friends who are artists and stuff,
Mhm.
and I just hope this doesn't become a trend.
What
Because
scene was it? Because honestly, I didn't notice. What scene was
well,
it was the kind of fucking, it was the trippy scene near the end, and
Oh,
some of the
okay.
title cards as well, I think, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. But I just hope that doesn't become a trend, because okay, you're trying to save money, but there's also struggling artists out there that you could do fantastic stuff for a fairly kind of affordable price as well. So
I think
I just hope that doesn't become a trend.
I think AI is going to be the future. So
Well,
maybe,
I also
maybe not for our generation, but for like maybe Eric's kid, that kind of thing. I think it's just going to be second nature.
I
You'll
also
probably see more and more of it in films. Justine Bateman is always going off about AI in the film industry.
I understand what you're saying, Marty. And I understand what, like, a lot of the actors and stuff like that. But I also say there is also a big difference between a movie with this budget and then say something Disney pumps out. And if Disney
Oh yeah,
uses
no,
AI,
like Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Invasion. It was fucking disgusting that the
Mhm.
entire credit sequence was using AI art. You're
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. Again, it was a small production company, but I just hope this doesn't become a trend. I genuinely
I
do,
get it.
because it's theft. No matter what way you look at it, it's theft.
All right. Any other points, Julia?
no, not really. I think you've made more.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's get to the
Sorry,
part.
I've just thought of one.
All
I've just
right.
thought of
Because I was about
There
to.
you go.
Yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
actor who, sorry, the actor who played Leo. I got a strong feeling they couldn't afford Brad Dourif.
Leo, who was Leo?
Who's
Refresh
Leo?
my memory.
Leo was
producer?
David Dastalmakian's Jack's agent
The producer. Yeah.
or
Yeah, the
handler
Phil
or
Spector
something.
looking dude. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Who was the one who said he looked like
Couldn't
Phil
afford
Spector?
Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Marty said he looked like Phil Spector. I see it with
Looked like fucking- I think they were
the white
going for
man
a Phil
afro.
Spector
Yeah, with the white
vibe.
man afro. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Psychopath. Yeah. Fucking
Yeah.
psychopath. Yeah.
And it makes sense when you say psychopath. He's the one that say, "Fuck it, keep going, keep rolling, keep rolling." So
Mhm.
All right, so let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by half. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather drink a quart of sour milk than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is, this is cinema, this is the destination, this is why I discuss films in the first place. Marty, over there in London, over there in Dublin, excuse me. What would you give? What would you give Late Night with the Devil?
I'm going to give it a 3. I think the issue for me is this was hyped up a lot. It was. It's one of the cases where you've so many kind of genre picks, particularly with the slasher genre and stuff. And I'm not dogging on slasher genre. It's
I'll do it.
Horror fans, when something new and unique comes out that isn't like Friday the 13th 47 or fucking Halloween 69. It's new, it's different.
yeah,
And I think everyone was like, this is the second coming of Christ. It wasn't for me. It was serviceable, it was fun, it was well made, but it just doesn't capture the likes of, say, Ghost Watch. But if I saw this in the 3 for 20 bin, I'd definitely pick it up. So 3 out of 5 for me.
All right. Eric, what would you give it?
I'm going to give it a 4.5, and I think it was worth all the hype. Aside from that confusion at the end, which, tonal shift not needed, even though you can understand it, but you can't type of thing. I got to knock it for that. It's not cinema, but what do you call you have Mike, you said
Entertainment.
Yeah, content. This is high entertainment for me.
Yeah.
And what I like is the less is more aspect, which we talk about all the time. We have great performances. I am really becoming a huge fan of David Delmachian, or however you pronounce.
Schmaltz.
Sure, whatever.
Dalmatian.
But every time he pops up, I want to see what he's in. I just watched A Quiet Place a couple weeks ago, and he's literally in it for 2 minutes, doesn't say a goddamn word, but he's good and he's creepy. He's got a talk show or a YouTube show where he interviews, because he's a big horror fan. He interviews celebrities in caskets and asks them morbid questions. It's a trip, and it's very entertaining. He's so good, he makes someone like the fucking Polka Dot Man fun and entertaining in the
He was
Suicide
brilliant
Squad.
to the Suicide Squad.
But the great performances, minimal special effects, great tension. I had a lot of fun with a lot of it, and there are some genuinely creepy moments, and this is probably going to be a Halloween watch. I think I'm going to watch this again around in October time to get that good spooky feeling. So I think 4.5.
Okay. Julia, what do you got for us?
Well, initially I was going to give it 2.5 because I was very underwhelmed by the movie as a whole. But having been reminded of the several excellent performances that we get in this film, I'm putting it up to 3. And I might possibly watch it again one day if I'm really, really bored. So 3.
All right. I'm going to go with 4 because the only thing that really put me off about this, having seen it 3 times now, was that end dream sort of sequence. I don't know what that was about. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a shift that, and like it's like you went from 6th gear and then the car goes over the road into the mud,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it gets stuck, and you're like, what the hell is this? You know, and I didn't appreciate that. I remember Eric and I were talking about this last year when we watched, or I saw, Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is fantastic. And no, like people were bagging it, and I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with you people?" You know.
Mhm.
But wait, I'm sorry, I'm talking to the horror community. All right. And then I started talking about this other film that like everybody else was like raving about. Is this A24 movie called Talk to Me? And I'm like, this movie fucking sucks. I went to see it, and I'm like, I want my fucking
Funny enough,
$15
that's what
back.
I thought about Voyage of the Demeter. I
Well,
thought
you're
when I
part of
was
the horror
watching Voyage
community,
of the
so
Demeter,
that explains
this
everything
movie
perfectly.
fucking sucks.
You're gonna,
Whereas Talk to Me, I
You're gonna-
rate very highly. I'd probably give it a 5, 4.5
you're
for
gonna
that
fit.
one.
Oh, you're gonna fit. Yeah, you fit right in. You fit right in. No problem. So I started watching that movie. I'm like, this movie fucking sucks. And like everybody goes, this is the greatest fucking movie since best horror movie since Hereditary. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face.
I wouldn't
like,
go
why do
that
people
far.
say this? Oh wait, it's the horror
You haven't
community.
seen
Okay.
Venezia Fenia, so there you go.
So, Julia, just admit it sucks, okay? It's just, you know, it's clear, it's concise, it sucks. It's 2 words. That's all you need. But then they started talking about this movie. And I didn't like hear people because I don't really spend a lot of time with the horror community. You know, you guys and a couple other people.
Mhm.
And I heard that this was a good movie. And I went to see it, and I just thought it was great. I thought it had mood. I thought it had, like I said, there's no special effects. There's no gore. So, you know, what are you left with? You're left with acting. And you're left with, huh?
The worm was pretty gory.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily a fan of the worm scene, but the strength of the performances and the mood overall, the worm scene was actually sort of excessive to me. But the power of the film, like I said, when I heard the ambulance go off, I was like, oh shit, like that actually meant something to me. Like it didn't, it was just an ambulance going off, but that like keyed me in. I was like,
coming
oh,
to get
shit.
Christo, I think it was.
Yeah, foreboding doom.
Yeah, this has gotten serious now. Okay, I remember that. I sat because I usually sit like in the center row. Like when I go to the theater, I sit in the center row, center aisle in the center. So I sit like center.
Mhm.
Center was taken here, so I sat all the way in the back row, like up against the wall in the center, and like other people to the left. Nobody in my row. Other people to the left and all the way down. Some people like to sit up front. And I remember sitting center, sitting all the way in the back in the center, and that, like I said, the hair on my arm came up. I was like, oh shit! So it had an impact. It drew me in. Great performances. Lily, Gus, David, everybody, even the guy, who plays Haig, he plays a jerk, and guess what? He did a great job doing it.
Yeah.
So I really don't have too much to knock off except one excessive gore scene and then a dream sequence at the end. It's not cinema, but it is, I think it's top tier entertainment.
This is one of those movies that
for $2 million. I mean, yeah, I give it a 4.
This is one of those movies that I can watch anytime I want online.
Yeah.
But when it comes out on physical media, not with all the extra bonus shit and like the booklets and all that stuff, just a plain old Blu-ray with maybe a behind the scenes featurette, I'll go out and buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is I agree with you in that, like, this is a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
This is like in your Halloween, you're sitting around and you're like, okay, because Halloween requires a specific mood. That genuine creep that you get. And yeah, this covers it. This covers it. So I go with 4. All right. Well, I know you guys are up real late over there, so let's start to wrap this up. Marty, plug something.
Okay, first off, I have my Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review up. And secondly, I am going to do my deep dive into how an Irish brewery hired the animators behind Akira to do a commercial in the early 90s. And it's pretty fucking awesome. I hope to have it out in the next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Okay. Eric, what do you got for us?
First off, I cannot wait till I get to see that video with Marty. We're gonna go see Kingdom on Saturday. Me and my daughter. She's one of those kids that you have to force to sit down to watch a fucking movie. But I made her watch Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then she wanted to watch the next one, and then she wanted to watch War, and then she wants to rewatch the trilogy. We're gonna watch War tomorrow and go see Kingdom on Saturday. She's more excited than I am, and I'm excited, so that's cool, and I can't wait to see that video. But my YouTube channel, Hey Internet Eric here. My theme for the year is I'm just discussing movies that I have never seen before. Whether it's going to be like stuff like I've never seen The Godfather from beginning to end. I'm going to do, the Blues Brothers, air quotes classics, or just random stuff that people talk about. My last upload was my thoughts on Late Night with the Devil. Even though you heard me tonight, it'd still be cool if you went and checked that out. And then that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else planned because every time I say, hey, I'm going to watch this and discuss it, I don't fucking do it for like 3 weeks. So just give the YouTube channel a sub and it's appreciated.
All right. Julia, what do you got for us?
Well, the first thing I'd like to mention is Sister Death. I can't remember which country it's from. It's a Spanish language horror movie. And apparently it's the prequel to Veronica, but I was kind of underwhelmed by Veronica.
Oh, Veronica was a good movie.
But now I'm going to watch it a second time. But Sister Death was so intense, so creepy, so gripping, so moving that I liked it so much. I thought I'd mention it rather than go on about Venezia Frenia again, which I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about. But another one that I saw was a slasher movie called Haunt, about a group of teenagers who go to visit a haunted house.
I've heard of that.
Those haunted house traps and things. I put on expecting it to be lightweight and trivial and just a bunch of teenagers running around screaming and getting killed, only to find out that it was kind of deep. I identified very much with some of the characters, especially the final girl. It wasn't a light-hearted, fun movie at all. It was amazingly good. So I can no longer say that I don't like slashers, because lately I've seen quite a few that I like quite a lot. So if you get a chance to watch Haunt, I think it's been out for a little while, do
Mhm.
grab it. On my YouTube channel, I'm interviewing people every Wednesday at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. And yesterday, approximately 23 minutes into it, the sound dropped out for both of us. You can watch the two of us frantically waving at the screen, trying to sign to each other. So hopefully we'll get those technical problems ironed out for the future. And that's it from me.
All right. For this channel, like I said, episode 224 happened about 8 hours ago, where I talked to Bill Scurry over there in Amsterdam. I'm just talking about the state of film today and some of our favorite films. And, there was this idea that what's missing nowadays is actually like movies for grown-ups. I almost said adult films, but I almost said no. I don't want to say that. Okay, but like where are the more serious types of drama that they don't happen today. Whether it's from risk-averse producers who just want to create like Marty said number 47 or 72 or whatever, or some sort of the closest thing we've gotten to a romantic movie, a romance, was that one with Sydney Sweeney, who's like the new It girl. These sorts of things, and what film is going to look like in 5 years. We're hopeful. We're hopeful, but cautiously optimistic, I would say. This episode, is going to be up, and I'm glad we're talking about it. I'm not sure what's coming up next with American Werewolf. I've got a number of people that I've put out invites for. Some are going to I'll get to right before Memorial Day. I've got Dave Park coming on, who's a co-host of the Team House podcast, which is a really good channel. I know we talked about it this summer, the summer of Stephen King. And I'm thinking, maybe around Memorial Day or, that week of Memorial Day, maybe we'll start to get into it. Where I'm just going to go with a whole roster of unusual and less than the most popular Stephen King adaptations, which I've got a list of about 10 or 12 films. They should be, everyone is open to join and fairly easy to access. So, it sounds like a good way to spend the summer, just it's some trashy Stephen King films, looking at Thinner, which I've been dying to get into. I love that movie, Thinner, and just a bunch of others out there. Maybe we'll do The Shawshank and The Mist.
Night Flyer.
Needful Things.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me look at what the Summer of King actually.
Yeah, Mike, you sent me the list a long time ago, and I don't think there was a bad one on it. Let me know when you plan on doing Thinner. I told you I was going to send you my DVD since I've upgraded, so I got no problem doing that since I know you enjoy the film. So
okay, we've got The Mist, we've got Shawshank. These are just potentials. Thinner, Salem's Lot, 1408.
Yes.
Well, Dolores Claiborne, The Green Mile, Hearts in Atlantis, Stand By Me, in 1922. So give me some. You guys were just spouting off some titles. Let's get some of those in there. What did you have?
I definitely think you should check out Needful Things. It's
with Max von Sydow.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
That one's cool, and it's Ed Harris plays the same character that was featured in The Dark Half. It's the same
Michael
sheriff,
Rooker played him.
Played by Michael Rooker, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Julia, what did you say? Did you come up with the
Night Flyer?
Night Flyer.
That's the fucking brilliant one.
Yeah, with Miguel Ferrer.
Yes, it is.
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Oh, you've
never seen it.
It was an HBO movie. It's an HBO movie.
Miguel Ferrer, right, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah. Got yourself a Night Flyer. Yeah. That's a great fucking movie. All right, so it looks like probably in a week, maybe two, we're going to kick off the summer of Stephen King, and I'll be contacting all of you, and please join whenever you're available if you have access to the film. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, My thanks to Marty from the Trash Picture Show over there in Dublin. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. My thanks to Morgan Scorpion over there in London. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.